Well, hello everybody. Welcome back into the gardens for the first update of December. Can you believe it's December already? That's outrageous. This year has just flown by. I can't believe how much stuff I have gotten accomplished this year, and can't believe how much stuff I didn't quite get accomplished this year. But anyway, this is a garden update, not a life update. So I thought we'd start up here in the den today so we can take a look at how some of those herbs are doing transplanted into our larger Bad Brains pepper. Take a look at the AeroGardens, and I've got some AeroGarden seed pods on the way because we had discussed letting a plant go all the way through, one of the proper chosen by AeroGarden plants. So I got pepper collection, and that should be here sometime between the 6th and the 9th. You know how it goes with online delivery stuff. So yeah, once that gets here, we're going to get some pepper plants started. We're going to try and grow them out all the way and see if we can actually get fruit on them. The Bad Brains pepper, the plant might just have too large of genetics, you know, when you get right down to it. It's a big plant. I'm impressed. It's not quite where that one sand dollar got to, but it's not quite as old as that sand dollar yet either. So this isn't even a year old yet. So yeah, we'll start there, look at the AeroGardens, and then down into the basement dungeon gardens, because I haven't shown you the aquaponics in a while. So yes, updates there are good too, right? Let's get started. So yeah, we'll get started here with the Monster Bad Brains pepper. Not quite a year old yet, I don't think. Pretty sure I planted this in the initial planting of the AeroGarden, so like February. I'd have to check video dates to be sure, but yes, I think I planted this in February. We've got, you know, looking down here we have the oregano that was in the seed starting AeroGarden, starting to grow up towards the light, so that kind of tells me the light's not quite intense enough for it, but it's definitely catching some of it, and it's definitely growing. Here we've got the pale ones. They got transferred to the other AeroGarden. And looking at the top here, we're starting to get a little bit of green coming back in there. So whatever was missing seems to be in the soil for it. That's good. Can't really see the sage from in here. Let's kind of tuck around. You can kind of see the sage there. It seems to be doing all right with the transfer. A little bit of stretch, but I don't mind that on the sage because I'm going for, you know, leaf mass ultimately. Want it to bake with, want it to burn, so more of it is better. Still no pods on this yet, but I have plugged the fan back in because it occurs to me that when these couple of pods set on these other, like this Bad Brains here and this Bootless Scorpion, check that, gotten some color on that, but the fan was going for that, so maybe me coming in and jostling the plants isn't doing enough of a trick. So I'm going to throw that fan on a timer so it doesn't cool the room down too much, but it does come on occasionally and jostle things around. Here we've got those original oregano transplants. These have all definitely grown. Again, we've got not quite intense enough light for them. They're definitely stretching, but I think I'm going to take a few cuttings from here and end up putting them back in that black AeroGarden to see if I can get 3 more plants out of that, because why not? I do not have a great success rate with oregano and seeds, so if I can just clone my way into a whole bunch of that, that will be just fine by me. Got the Bootla clamshell back there. Doing pretty well. For one of these larger peppers, the cloth planter seems to be doing the trick to keep them going. Like we've got this one here. I'm betting this kind of root bound in there, much like our sample pepper here. We see, you know, this is what happens with root bound pepper plants. They kind of get to be like that. At least that's what's happened to them here. But yeah, the Bad Brains, you know, it's got a lot of root mass in there. It's not looking great here. I'm betting it would be pretty ugly. The Bootless Scorpion, you know, nice large plant. Starting to suffer in the leaves. I'm betting we'll see some of them fall off soon. But that clamshell, it's doing alright. So I don't know. Yeah, might definitely be something to be said for those cloth planters. Let's pan over here a little bit more. Got the Venus Flytrap. This is the best I've ever had one do. Got a nice big trap open up there. Shocks has noticed there is a fly that keeps buzzing around the kitchen, so we're going to try and live catch that. And depending on its size, maybe feed it to the plant. We'll see. If we can actually catch the fly alive, then maybe we'll get a video of that. Otherwise, pretty much content to leave it alone, because if it ain't hurt or ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. Yeah, grow, little buddy. But that big one that's open at the top there is definitely new since it's been here. These things go through an amazing amount of water though. So far that seems to be my biggest failing with this plant, is I'm just not getting enough water into the bottom of it. So I got to be a little more on top of that, but who knows? Might just keep that puppy alive yet. And then checking on the AeroGardens, we've got the one AeroGarden Harvest Classic, that's which one this is, with all of its 33 or whatever seed pods in here. Obviously not full at the moment, but I did grab some more sage cuttings, put them in here. This one got totally floppy on day one, has perked back up, so I'm hopeful. Tricolor sage, not really doing much. Here we've got one of the original 2 sage cuttings. This still hasn't put out roots, but again, hasn't flopped over and died, so I just don't know what to do with that. These are definitely parsley now, eh? Pretty obvious, pretty obvious. Got a late sprouter coming up in there, so that'll be nice. In the back, took a few more oregano cuttings. You can see that one not looking good. Also not looking good, but those 3. That one. So, I'll take those numbers. I'll take those numbers and I'll be happy about it, tell you what. So, yes. Might be getting on time to maybe fill up some more of these pods with, like I was saying, some oregano from the aloe. Keep recycling it in here, adding to my overall numbers. Or I might just cut off a whole bunch more sage, because it takes a good long time. So right now I've got the time to let it take a good long time. So yeah. Anyway, let's go check the other AeroGarden, because time to take some herbs from there down to the dungeon. So from the AeroGarden Harvest Classic to the Elite, just enough of a change in the top that you can't switch the seed tray from one to the other. Thanks, big companies. I love it when they do things like that. Apparently the seed top for this one holds 24. Haven't quite found one of these yet, but I'm still looking, so it would be fun to have it. Here we have my highly suspect mint seedling. You can see that little brown stripe in the leaf there. I was kind of giving her with my thumbnail in it. Smells like maybe it's a chocolate mint, but it doesn't say chocolate mint on it. Doesn't really smell like a particularly minty mint though, so kind of still looks like oregano to me. We got the basil here doing quite well. A little pale. Seem to be having issues keeping nutrient levels up in this particular AeroGarden. We've got the thyme. Both of these are coming out today because we're going to put them down into the aquaponic garden, because ultimately I want the largest variety of herbs available down in the basement dungeon garden. So that's the whole point and purpose of the aquaponics now, is to have my culinary herbs available at will. So yeah, we're just going to pull these out. And let's try that again. Now we're going to pull these out. Hopefully, oh, right on. Not too tangled up. Let's pop that into the cup. I'll have to get that free from the white thing later, but got an extra pod kicking around, so I'll just put that one in there. Take the thyme out. Hopefully it's not too tangled up either. There's not a lot growing on this side. Now these roots are nowhere near as impressive, are they? But the plant itself's a lot smaller too, so we'll just chuck that in there as well. And grab another spacer. Juggle a few things around. Now our so-called mint. Currently the only thing in here. Gonna be the only thing in here until I get those 9 pepper pods. 3 of 3 different varieties. I don't know if I'm going to try growing 3 in here or just 2. I'll do one on either side as was previously suggested to me. We'll see. But the point is to try growing seeds from AeroGarden in AeroGarden pods in an AeroGarden garden until harvest. Will it actually do it? Because I don't know, man. That Bad Brains pepper got huge. Never put on any pods. So we're just going to have to see on that. Down, down, down to the dungeon for these ones. So yeah, down here in the dungeon, checking out the aquaponic garden, which is running. That's not me taking a leak or anything. Nothing rude. See, the parsley is finally adjusted to its new situation. Seems to be doing alright. I mean, a few dead leaves to the side, but still not bad. We've got a couple of oregano cuttings. Or no, these I yanked rudely out of that one planter on the Darwin table. We'll take a look at that in a minute, but got some discoloration. I still haven't gotten more fish yet, so I think it's probably just a lack of nutrients from a lack of, well, workers really. Got the sage that I've been taking all my cuttings from for upstairs. Kind of bushing out fairly nicely, doing okay. I mean, you can see it's reaching, it's extending. Again, we've just got a couple of LED shop lights above it, so it's not getting really super intense light, but look at this mint, right? A little light in the leaf, but look at the size of that leaf. That's crazy. And that is all from that one. I think that's the V-shaped one. And this is kind of just the singular twine, so, or the singular twig. So this, not a terribly bad idea, apparently. We're going to put the basil and the thyme in here, where unfortunately those strawberry cuttings didn't make it. Probably my fault because I didn't have them deep enough initially. Lesson learned there. But need to get these out of their little pod holders, and I'm not going to bother to take them out of the peat pods. I don't think they're going to represent that much of an issue in here. I mean, I've still got hydroponic fertilizers and stuff, and you know, yeah, this is far from a pure system. It's just my happy little basement herb garden, really. See what else we got down here. We've got very struggling, scraggly sort of mint. There's a little bit of water still in the bottom of that. Doesn't get great light there, but apparently it's enough to survive with. You know what, let's just hop around to the other side of the table here. Because then over here you can see, speaking of mint that loves to struggle, this is kind of our bog mint. This was in the pond, and I just brought it in with some dirty pond water, stuck it roots into the water, and I've let it to sit. There's no bubbler in there, there is nothing in there. In theory, that should be nasty, stagnant water, and yet we have this nice, huge mint growing out of it. Here we have the Undefeatable mouse melon. Yes, this mouse melon will take over the world one day. I'm convinced of it. I thought this thing was dead so many times, and yet it keeps on growing. So, huzzah! This is the second winter that one's been down here for, and looks like we'll probably have it in the spring. So that is fabulous news. I'm going to pan over through the mess here. We've got the outdoor spider plant, happy in its indoor home, throwing out lots of pups. Look at some of these things. These are just beautiful. And you can tell from the size of those leaves, basically, we'll say. I don't know if they probably have a more accurate term, but I mean, they're sun leaves, right? You can tell from the size of those things, there's a lot of stored energy in the roots of that plant, because I hardly ever water this thing, and it's not exactly getting a whole lot of light there. The coffee tree, it's a few years old now, starting to look, well, kind of rough at the bottom, but these are some nice large leaves at the top that we're getting here. Good gloss on them, looks healthy. Seems to be content with the light we've got there. The outdoor strawberry. I'm keeping on top of the watering now. I've got it in a bucket so the excess water kind of pools up in the bottom, doesn't flood out my feet on the floor. And the lemon tree. Look at this. Thought for sure this sucker was dead a couple of times too, but persistent little lemon tree. I think I planted this from a Meyer lemon seed a few years ago. It's still growing. That absolutely amazes me. Let's see what else we got down here. Darwin table over there, I guess. Survival of the fittest at its finest over here. These spider plants hardly ever get watered, and yet look at them, they're doing alright. Some of these kalanchoes look better than others, but when they go abandoned for a long time, their leaves get really quite floppy, and you think they're totally dead. But if I water these nice and deep, these are going to get all like a fake plant again on the top. It's so interesting. I probably shouldn't be punishing these as much as I do, but apparently kalanchoes make the soil they grow in toxic to other plants. So I just, aside from putting these all into a larger planter and, you know, leaving them to be, I don't know what to do with them, because I don't want to mix them in with, you know, edibles for sure, and or other houseplants. Here's the outdoor oregano transferred into the basement just fine, and got that one chunk there where I ripped it out for the aquaponics, like I was saying. And it's definitely lifting to try and get to the light, because this is just a 17 watt indoor household type LED, but it's enough to grow it. Little spider plants, a couple more kalanchoes, looking alright. This pythos plant here, not looking good, not looking good at all. Not sure, might finally be the end for that thing. It's had a rough go, so it might be time to just let it go. Alright, so I've just turned the pump off, so hopefully that gurgling will stop in a few minutes. Let's get to planting some of these things into the aquaponics. So like I say, my goal this winter is kind of get as many different herbs growing down here in the basement garden as I can, because these things seem to do a lot better in the basement environment than peppers do. I'm not seeing anything like an aphid situation going on here. Well, these tops are a bit of a pain to get off. Anyway, so yeah, the herbs seem to be aphid free, so hurrah! If that's what I can grow here, then that's what I can grow here. Once I get some more fish and I start seeing deeper greens coming up in these herbs, I might add some lettuces. We'll see. Now this thyme should be easy enough to pull out, because the roots aren't really too intense there. And that is one thing I'm really enjoying about those AeroGardens, is it's really quite easy when you get the plants young enough to pull them out, transfer them in, and when you're looking at doing it into an aquaponic garden, there you go, poof, I'm done. That one was so easy. This one, the basil, you know, we've got a much bigger root mass. It's going to be a bit more of an issue, but I found if I kind of go along these side bits, straighten the roots that way, almost like combing longer hair, right? Some of you may recall I used to have hair, so I do know what I'm talking about there. You do lose a few roots in the process, but not so many as without kind of combing it first. So again, I got to get this top off. You know what, half of it should be enough. I keep dropping bits. There we go. So now, give it a bit of a pull. I'm going to get some resistance at the bottom. So just, again, losing some roots. It's sad, but it happens. All in all, we did a pretty good job keeping them in that. I would have liked to have kept more, but like I say, it happens. So we're going to take our basil plant here. Again, just kind of dive deep into the aquaponic pellets. Brush them up around it. And that little puppy is now part of the herb garden. Take these back upstairs to fill spacers, and I'm good to go. And I guess that's probably a wrap for today. I'm going to turn that pump back on before I go upstairs, just so I know those roots are freshly watered, but that's pretty much all there is to transplanting from an AeroGarden into an aquaponic garden. So yeah, as if it wasn't easy enough before, that is just that is delightfully simple. So I'm really looking forward to getting a few more herbs growing upstairs so that I can ultimately bring them down here, expand my possibilities in the basement. And yeah, I will leave you with a look at the fish. I brought a flashlight so we can actually see them today because it's time to feed them. So I hope you enjoy the look at the fish. Thank you guys for joining me again this week, and I will be back next Sunday. And don't forget to join in on the farm channel if you're interested in farm and ranch related activities, because we've got the live chat on Wednesday, and then we've got the homework assignment on Thursday that follows it. So yeah, much love everybody, enjoy the fish, and have an absolutely fantastic week ahead. Alright. Okay, I guess the flashlight's not working out quite as well as I had hoped. Need like a trouble light or something down here, but you can see they're all doing pretty well. Have lost a lot of their colors. Basically just a bunch of gold feeder fish. Except for that one. Kept its markings quite well. And there's Peaches. Also kept its markings quite well. Yeah, definitely getting on time to go down to the pet store and grab a few more feeder fish. Add to our numbers. All in all, doing pretty good. We bought, what, 21 of these guys initially. Really, really like this one here, though. It would be great to get a few more where the markings are that intense and they will stay that intense. Poor man's koi and all that. I don't think they keep proper shibunkin at that particular pet store, but I can always look for those too. Alright. Take care, everybody.